in my history of scared, this is the most scared I've ever been.
Congratulations, Dad. It's a boy.
What's up, y'all? It's Eddie Knight, man. Welcome to Nerdy Before It Was Cool. This is my channel where I talk about TV and film and just all this cool stuff that I'm watching. Sometimes I review it, sometimes I commentate on it, man. If you like this type of content, be sure to subscribe. So I just finished You Season 3, man, and if you watched You Season 1 or You Season 2, you pretty much know what the premise is about. But we have our main guy in this show, Joe, who is an obsessive, a stalker, sometimes a murderer, sometimes a creep, and sometimes a genuinely good guy that somehow, even with all the crazy, shitty things that he's done, you still kind of root for this guy. Now, at the end of last season, we saw that after all the craziness that happened in season 2, all the murderers, everything we found out about Love and who she actually is, and all the crazy things that she's done, and that crazy climax of season 2, spoiler alert if you haven't seen season 2, where we find out that Love committed all these murders, and also Love is pregnant with Joe's baby. He was just about to kill her at the end of season 2 until he found this out. So he restrains himself, one, because he's believing that he is going to have a daughter and that he has to protect this daughter. So it's like, fine, okay, now he can be protective over somebody that he actually has the right to be this protective over, instead of these random women that he keeps falling in love with. At the end of season 2, we also see Joe and Love moving to this new suburban neighborhood where it's clear that he has found a new obsession. This next door neighbor, this mysterious lady who he sees, and he goes into one of his weirdo creep monologues that he usually does. And like every other time, we're like, oh my gosh, what is he gonna get himself into now? And that little cliffhanger that they left us on really had me ready to see season 3. It really had me kind of thinking that I already knew exactly what was going to happen in season 3. And without giving you any spoilers of season 3, man, I'll just say they completely subverted those expectations. To pop off the season, everything that you thought was gonna happen kind of happened, but then some stuff that you didn't expect happened as well. And that act that happened just threw season 3 into this crazy frenzy of them scattering, scrambling, and just pretty much disrupting their what seemed to be happy home and everything they were going through and settling their new roots in this town. I'll just say this season focuses heavily on Love and a lot of her actions. Joe is still the main character, but Love probably shares just as much screen time, especially within the first half of season 3. So they've uprooted to this new town where they're trying to plant new roots and start over, have a good life. Joe has done a lot of crazy stuff in season 1 and 2, and he's like, I'm done with that. I got a kid now. And surprisingly, for the most part, it was true. He was behaving. He wasn't being obsessive with other people, really, for the most part. He hadn't done anything too crazy or brash. One minor slip up that he has in season 3 sparks this really, really, really dark side of Love. As I said, season 3 focuses a lot on her, and a lot of her actions really propel the plot of season 3. A lot of her actions are really the main staple and focus of season 3. For the most part, my boy Joe is just doing cleanup up until the very end, where he kind of falls back into his old ways. I won't spoil how and why. So in this new town, they're trying to fit in, so of course they got to make friends, and Joe, being the person that he is, isn't too fond of these new friends at first. Neither is Love, but they're kind of just doing whatever they have to do to stay under the radar, especially after Love slip up in the beginning of the season, because they're just trying to get by and they're just trying to make it through and live a normal life. But man, like I said, Love just, oh my goodness, Love just keeps slipping up in this season is all I'll say. And every time she does, it just propels them deeper and deeper and deeper into, one, their own depression, and two, just into this rabbit hole of just almost being caught for a lot of the crazy stuff that they've already done. And every time you think they're home free, every time you think that they have a little bit of normalcy pegged, something else happens. And 9 times out of 10, it was because of love, man.
I think we need to go to couples therapy.
This came sooner than expected.
There's some pretty interesting side characters in here. There's Love's best friend and a lot of the nosy neighbors, and there's a couple of interests in here of Joe. Joe has some new interests this season, I'll say that. He has a couple of new interests. They were pretty cool characters as well. And for the most part, the season just persists of them just trying to live a normal life, but they can't because there's just some, I don't know if it's inherent or learned or mental illness. It's just some type of darkness in them that just can't allow them to just be normal. They keep they keep having these intrusive thoughts, and Love keeps having all these and doing all these impulsive things throughout the show that just really make it hard for them to live a normal life. So that's kind of the most interesting dynamic, in my personal opinion, of season 3, just seeing them trying to navigate being quote unquote normal. They even decided to go to therapy this season, and just, it's hilarious. Like, all the scenes where they're in therapy is hilarious because this therapist has no idea who these people really are. They're telling her everything in a way that doesn't sound like what we know. So I love all the scenes when they go to therapy in this show. It helps them become closer in some ways, helps them understand each other in some ways, and in others shows them how alike that they really are. He also finds himself unhappy because he has this itch that he can't scratch. Joe, I wouldn't know how to diagnose this guy. I'm not a therapist, but he has some issues. He has some mommy issues that leads him to these women who are naturally kind of broken, and he can't seem but help to want to protect them. But the way he does it is so horribly wrong and so horribly toxic that it gets him into a lot, and I mean a lot of trouble. So yeah, a lot of this season is them just battling to try to make their marriage work, but it's in the most extreme ways because these are two, like I said, I don't know how to diagnose them, but two psychopaths for the most part. And it's crazy how they're both so in the relationship at sometimes, and they're both so out of it. They both have their moments of weakness in different areas of the relationship, and it's just interesting to see how so much alike they are, but towards the end of the season, how much different they are as well. Joe is crazy, but I will just say Love in this season is a different type of crazy. I don't agree with Joe's actions in the majority of the seasons of this show, but at least, even though I feel like it's false nobility, there is a little bit of nobility in his actions, and he kind of sees himself as better than Love because all of her actions seem to come from impulse. His seems to come from thought or protection, how he puts it. Regardless, man, I enjoyed the show. I thought the side characters were hilarious, especially Carrie. He's like your freaking meathead, just total jock character, which is the complete opposite of Joe. But it's funny because he actually helps Joe find himself a lot in this show. And his wife is a best friend of Love in this show, complete opposite as Love as well. Even though she reluctantly befriends her in the show, she helps her learn a lot about herself as well. So it's a really good show. I thought the side characters were very well done. The side characters really did a good job of nailing home how these two people could actually fit into society if they can at all. The finale of the season was pretty shocking, and it makes me wonder what they're going to do in the future with the character of Joe, how they're going to go about this, because there is a season 4 already in the works. I personally think that if there is a season 4 already in the works, I think season 4 should be the finale. I think they shouldn't carry this on too much longer, because it's like, all right, how long can this guy go in society without being caught? At this point, like, this man's Jason Bourne or somebody at this point. Like, how long can he really go without being caught? Because it's so many close calls in every season, but this one especially. It's like, how many times can they escape that? I don't want them to pull a Dexter and keep on stretching something out that clearly should have been deaded. But anyways, that's my spoiler-free recap of the show. I may do a spoiler talk version where I talk about some of the specific plots and some of the specific things that happened throughout the season for the people who have already watched it and just kind of want to nerd out with me over those. But this one was my best attempt at keeping this spoiler-free. My name is Eddie Knight. This is Nerdy Before It Was Cool. I actually have a podcast where I talk about TV and film called Nerdy Before It Was Cool as well. You can find that on any DSP you listen to your podcast on, Apple, Spotify, wherever. We just dropped an episode about Lucifer, as well as, you know, I cover a lot of comic book movie content like DC and Marvel as well. If any of that interested, you can check that out in the description of this video. Y'all be easy. Have a good one. I'm Eddie Knight, and I'm out.